The Super Smash Bros. Series is well known for its diverse selection of characters, and of everything we fans enjoy about this series, guessing who will be joining the lineup is always the source of the biggest discussions. We look for patterns and we come up with fan rules to justify our thinking, but really, we don't need to. Over the years, series creator Masahiro Sakurai has gone on the record to discuss the creative process, what has changed game on game, and what has remained the same since the very beginning. That's what this Source Gaming series is all about. I am NantenJex, and with the help of YouTuber Yoshiilla, we're going to teach you all the secrets of character selection for the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. We're finally here, the latest game in the Super Smash Bros. Series, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And from here on, it's going to get much easier, but also a little harder, to give a reason for why characters were added and cut from the game. Being the latest game in the series means we haven't had as long for interviews and the like to drop. However, that said, it has been 4 years, and during this time, Sakurai was consistently writing his Famitsu column and talking a lot about Super Smash Bros. In them. So we certainly can figure out most of this, at least for why characters were added, which is the focus of today's video. And what better place to start than to cover everyone is here. The big reveal of the original trailer for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was that Sakurai and his team wanted to bring back every character from the series' history and make them all playable in one game. In an interview with Game Informer, Sakurai was asked about why every character came back, and he said, "This time, I worked with the same company and same team that worked on Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS titles, and in those titles we were able to include quite a few fighters. So I thought, if we work a bit harder, we can make the dream of including all fighters come true. So we went for it." Sakurai then went on to talk about how every character has fans, and that those fans get disappointed when a character gets cut, a sentiment he has expressed several times over the series' history. Bringing every character back was his way of rectifying this. For reference, the characters that were brought back were all characters from Super Smash Bros. 4, and then Ice Climbers, Pichu, Young Link, Solid Snake, Wolf, and Pokemon Trainer, which included Squirtle and Ivysaur. Some of these had been previously cut for technical reasons, others for time, and some because they felt redundant. But now they were all here, with tweaks made to them to make them more balanced or slightly more unique. But what about the totally new characters? Sakurai mentioned early on that because everyone is here was the focus, the number of newcomers this time would be less than previous titles. And he was right. The base game contained 11 newcomers in total, and of those 11, 5 were Echo Fighters, the new name given to clone characters. This is the lowest number of newcomers in the series' history. Even the original 64 game had 12. Yet, despite that low number, many of the choices made for this game were done so to address the fan favourite characters, the long requested picks, and the most popular character in Super Smash Bros. Speculation. That dictated a lot of the choices in this game, and if a character didn't make it into the playable group, they at least saw representation as an assist trophy or Mii costume instead. Not every character was a popularity choice though, so let's tackle this in reveal order, starting with all the non-Echo Fighters first. Inklings. Revealed before even the name of the game, the Inklings are our first newcomer, and were apparently a difficult character to create thanks to their ink mechanic. Sakurai and co needed to decide how their ink would interact with every stage and every fighter, and what would happen when someone or something got splattered. Yet, despite the difficulties, they still went through with them, and the reason is very simple. Splatoon is the big new IP from Nintendo. It shot up in the Nintendo rankings and can be practically considered an A-tier franchise at this point, alongside the likes of Animal Crossing and Donkey Kong. So of course, they had many fans and made an ideal new series to add to the game. In fact, Splatoon was the only new franchise to be added to Super Smash Bros. That wasn't a third party. As for the Inklings specifically, well, they were the protagonists, and as it's no problem for Animal Crossing to be represented by its avatars, so too can Splatoon. Ridley. This big space lizard has been a long time request from the Super Smash Bros. Community, ever since the original game in fact, and he is our first ballot pick for Ultimate. The Smash Ballot was a worldwide popularity poll where fans could vote on who they wanted to be added to Super Smash Bros. 4 as DLC, with Bayonetta winning out. However, the ballot made clear that it would consider the votes in it for future games as well, and they did not lie because we'll be seeing these results a lot. As for Ridley himself, Sakurai had two desires when bringing him over to the series. The first was to deal with his size issue, making him small enough to be playable without losing what made him Ridley. This still resulted in him being the biggest character on the roster, but he did a good job finding a balance for this. The other desire was to make Ridley terrifying and evil. Super Smash Bros. Has villains on its roster like Bowser and King Dedede, but while they are bad guys, they also have a lot of comical elements. Ridley was designed to have none of that. He was purely a scary villain, with animations to show this. He even had a trailer designed to emphasize the darker, more serious tone of the character. Simon Belmont. And now it's time for Castlevania's original hero and our new third-party fighter for the base game, Simon Belmont. Just like Ridley, the main reason for his inclusion was voting high in the Super Smash Bros. Ballot, although it's a little more complicated than that. See, it wasn't necessarily Simon who scored highly, rather the entire Castlevania series got lots and lots of votes globally, putting it above many other third-party series. It was also very popular amongst the team making the game, meaning they had lots of ideas for how the franchise could be portrayed in Smash. The big hurdle Sakurai had to cross was which Castlevania protagonist to choose. The hero tended to change from game to game, meaning that there are many viable options, and series fans are likely familiar primarily with the part of the franchise that they started with, whether it be the original Belmont era, the Soma era, or the Lord of Darkness era. In the end, what led Sakurai to pick Simon over the others is because he wanted a character who was connected to the Belmont lineage. The Belmonts were the most recurring element of the series' protagonists, with over 50% of them being a part of that family, and appearing in most of the games. And Simon was the original hero and closely associated with Nintendo, being an NES icon. This put him above the rest of his family. It also helped with design, as Simon was designed to be as close to his game counterpart as possible, with the NES original being the primary inspiration. King K. Rool. From one ballot pick to another, King K. Rool finally made his debut after years of heavy campaigning during the Smash 4 era. Just like Ridley, King K. Rool was a highly requested villain, and given the bonus Mii costume he got in Smash 4, it was likely he was one of the most requested characters for the game. Unlike other heavies in the game, Sakurai could make King K. Rool feel unique by making him more focused on projectiles and counters, leading to him gaining a unique counter that offers the character super armor until it shatters from overuse, leaving him open to attack. That's really all there is for King K. Rool. He was just popular and is the last of our ballot pick choices, at least for the unique newcomers. Isabelle. Everyone's favourite secretary, Isabelle from Animal Crossing, was quickly growing as an icon of Nintendo, and one many fans knew and enjoyed. She was a pivotal part of the 3DS era, being used across lots of promotion for the company, along with the other big icons like Mario, Link and Kirby. She even got her own amiibo, multiple in fact, before ever getting her Super Smash Bros. Series one. Needless to say, with Animal Crossing being an A-tier franchise for Nintendo, and Isabelle's growing popularity, she made natural sense as a choice for a fighter. But it wasn't only because of that though. Isabelle was designed as a customized version of Villager. Not an Echo Fighter due to having a unique shape and structure, as Villager was designed after the Wii version of the character, which is smaller than Isabelle, but some of the Villager's mechanics, like Pocket, could be taken basically wholesale and given to Isabelle, reducing the workload and allowing her to retain the Animal Crossing feel. It also allowed for a cute character to join the fight. Incinero. The final unique newcomer in the base game, Incinero was the only character that wasn't decided on in its project plan. Like all previous Super Smash Bros. Titles, all the characters were decided on during the planning stage, and just like other titles, there was a space left open for whoever the hot new Pokemon would be, a benefit of a series as big and ongoing as Pokemon. As for why Incinero was decided over other Pokemon from Sun and Moon, the new release Sakurai was waiting on, it was because of his wrestling motif. A wrestling-style moveset made Incinero unique as a fighter on the roster, as this fighting style had yet to be portrayed, and it made him stand out from the other Pokemon as well. Incinero was also a very charming Pokemon. His heel wrestler personality and easy to read face allowed for him to make lots of fun and goofy poses and faces, making him a funny character similar to Donkey Kong. And now, with all the unique characters out of the way, let's move on to the Echo Fighters. This section will be much faster, as a primary reason they were all chosen is because there were already characters on the roster who they could take from, either wholesale or just the main fighter data, or just mainly the moveset. Rather than going in reveal order for these guys, we're going to bunch them up by the order we think they were decided on, based on their uniqueness and other factors. So first up we have Ken from Street Fighter, an echo of Ryu. If Luigi is the quintessential player 2, and that's why he was basically an echo fighter of Mario in the original Super Smash Bros. On 64, then Ken is the original echo fighter of fighting games. He was made as an exact replica of Ryu in the original game, so that players weren't having to fight just a clone of Ryu, even if that's basically what he was mechanically. In Street Fighter 2 onwards, he slowly began to become more unique, but at his core, he is simply Ryu with fire-based attacks. So he made natural sense as an echo fighter here, and is probably the most unique of them all, having entirely new moves to Ryu for his standard attacks, so that he feels accurate to his portrayal in the Street Fighter 2 series. Next up is Richter Belmont, and he came about as a result of Sakurai being unable to decide on which Belmont to add to Super Smash Bros. While Simon was the one chosen due to his legacy, Richter was the more popular choice from the team, with his series of games, Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night, being some of the most popular games in the franchise. But what really pushed them to add Richter was Simon's moveset. It was loyal to the original NES game, but that made it very limited, and so Sakurai looked to Richter's games for more moves, giving Simon a fusion of his traditional abilities and Richter's more dynamic attacks. So if the moveset was already going to have that Richter flair, why not just add him as well? Give fans the best of both. The next two characters we have are Daisy and Dark Samus, two popular ladies of their franchise and both chosen for ranking high in the Smash ballot. Daisy, being from the Super Mario series, meant she was likely more well known to the wider gaming audience than the majority of other newcomers added here, and her original introduction as a Peach replacement and then the Luigi to Peach's Mario meant she would make a lot of sense as an echo fighter of Peach. Just change the animations a little to make her spunkier. As for Dark Samus, while the character didn't play exactly like Samus in the original game, they were still designed as a clone of Samus, even being made of one of Samus's old power suits. The character was popular even before the Smash ballot, being added as an assist trophy in Smash 4, so it was decided that even if it doesn't fit exactly, it would still be a good choice for an echo fighter and would make fans happy. Finally, we have the new Fire Emblem character for this game, Chrom. Chrom feels like the final character added to the game, given that while characters like Dark Samus saw their assist trophy removed when they got promoted, Robin still kept Chrom as part of his final Smash. But Chrom already being in the game is part of the reason he made the cut. They had a model for him already that they could use. It was a simple matter of assigning Roy's data for him, and then giving him Ike's Aether to make him feel a little more like Chrom. Chrom was also decided on by Sakurai and his team in order to appease disappointed fans of the character and finally let him have his day. As anyone who watched the cut characters in Smash 4 video will know, Chrom was planned to be in that game, but cut for Robin due to the latter offering more. Chrom was specifically cut for being too similar to Marth and Ike, but now that didn't matter as much, and so he would be a nice bonus for fans. And that does it for all the newcomers in the base game in Smash Ultimate. But wait! Here's a bonus character for you all, Piranha Plant. The next video in the series will cover both fighter passes, and this plant doesn't really fit into that, being a standalone DLC character and free bonus for early adopters of the game. In fact, there is evidence that Piranha Plant was decided on with all the other base game characters, and either not finished or purposefully held back to be a bonus. Same thing for the Rex Mii costume, by the way. As for why Piranha Plant was chosen, some might think it's for the surprise factor, but that's not quite right. Piranha Plant falls into the same category as Mr. Game & Watch Rob and Duck Hunt of games prior. They're unconventional, both in how they play and their standing on the roster. In a game full of protagonists and major villains or key NPCs, a random mob character really stands out. When asked about the plant, Sakurai said, "I'm actually not paying too much focus on the surprise element when we introduce a new fighter. The surprise element quickly fades once the announcement has been made. Rather, I believe it's important to have a good balance as a game. In the past titles in the series, Mr. Game & Watch Rob and Duck Hunt Dog were some of the examples we offered outside of people's typical expectations. However, if we don't have these type of fighters and we only had typical hero-heroine type fighters in the lineup, there's not much difference. It's probably not very interesting, correct? Another benefit the plant had over other potential candidates was how well it was known. While slightly said in jest, Sakurai pointed out that being a Mario character, Piranha Plant was probably more recognisable and well known than over 50% of the roster. Which he's not wrong about, to be honest. Although, I would say many of the subjects of our next video might be more recognisable than the plant. Maybe. And that's because we'll be looking at all the other DLC characters added to the game. The end of this series is nearly upon us, and I hope you'll stick around for the end. A special thank you to Yoshilla for continuing to be the editor for this series, and a special thank you to all of our patrons. The $5 up tier are on screen right now. If you liked this video, hit a like, leave a comment, let us know what you think of all of the reasons these characters were chosen, and share it with any friends or just people online who are trying to argue and give fake reasons for why these characters made it. This is the truth. This is where all the facts lie. With that, don't miss out on the next video by always remembering to return to the source.